Yep. Film Vault. Welcome everyone to the Film Vault. I'm Brian Bishop. That's Aaron, our host. For today, a classic throwback episode. Not that long ago. When did this air? This was like 3-ish years ago.
Yeah, it's
Good.
it's from like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay, there you go. This was a Patreon exclusive topic. We do that once a month, but this was interesting enough that we decided, hey, let's put it out there for the general population
For the
to
people.
enjoy. What's that?
For the people.
That's right. Our topics for the people. And Anderson is gallivanting, maybe, if his flight made it to Japan. And we need an episode. And this felt like a perfect opportunity to give this to you, the listeners. So please enjoy top 5 Steven Spielberg sex scenes. What?
But wait, no, we're doing a Flickfessions first.
I
Right?
understand.
It sounds like you're throwing to it.
setting the table. You're right.
From
We'll
June
throw to that in a
11th,
second.
June 11th, 2021.
Oh my. Okay, so just under 3 years ago.
Yes.
So what do you have to bring to the table, Anderson, in terms of what you've seen before your flight?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a couple of movies that have not been covered here. One of which is a movie that I really quite enjoyed elements of, parts of, and people were talking about. People liked it last year. It kind of came and went. We were hearing terrible things about it, so I avoided it until I heard some good things about The Covenant, about Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. So I ended up watching Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, and I just never brought it to the show. But I think it's the kind of movie where some people would really, really like it. So there's some stuff. Dude, are we getting into it, or are we just going to
What?
Are we setting things up? Or are we ready to do these quick Flickfessions here?
Do it.
All right.
You're on the floor, man.
Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, 2023. It was a movie from just last year. You didn't see it on anyone's like top list or bottom list, and that's understandable. So it's set during the war in Afghanistan, and it's got Jake Gyllenhaal, and
yes.
he's
Is this the one with the translator?
And he's got a translator, yes.
Yeah.
And the translator, played by Dar Salim, he plays Ahmed, is really the selling point here because he is so particular and so strong and so good in this role. At least he was for me. I really, really enjoyed. I thought that was going to be the worst part of the movie, and it was actually the best part of the movie. And some of the actual action sequences, either I'd already seen them before or they felt a little bit, especially for a Guy Ritchie movie, uninspired. But the relationship between Jake Gyllenhaal, who's very standoffish, and he's at the top. So he's at the top of his platoon, all right, and he's in charge of everything, and he's a very stern Jake, and he pulls it off for the most part. You buy it,
sure.
But the ultimate, like, it's kind of what I think the tone that Fast and Furious is going for was like all the machismo and the brother and the family and all that stuff, but it seems to kind of nail it to a degree with this movie and that relationship in particular. At least it did, and I was shocked that I actually it was able to penetrate this cold, dark, sardonic, jaded soul, and I actually believed in that relationship by the time the movie was over. There's a lot to hate about this movie, and
Go on.
one
plenty
really
to hate.
one really big thing to love, though, and the tone felt hollow for the mood that was trying to be set. The shots were like lacking, especially for a Guy Ritchie movie, relying too heavily on like drone shots. But the performance was very, very strong. So Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I can see some people really, and actually I got friends who really, really like this movie quite a bit, and doesn't feel like a Guy Ritchie movie, but I don't even know what a Guy Ritchie movie is. It's almost like Guy Ritchie said, all right, you know what? A bunch of people are biting my style. A bunch of people have made entire careers, Matthew Vaughn, out of my style, essentially. So I'm going to try different things. And I really appreciate the fact that Guy Ritchie is trying to expand.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. He had a very signature style at one point. Now I don't know that he has that. Maybe intentionally.
Yeah, I think that he's trying to become, well, I mean, he first drifted from it, was Swept Away, which I still have not seen, but that was when he was with Madonna, and she pretty much, puppet stringed him into making that movie, from what I understand. But then he got back to his style, and now he's really trying to. I mean, we love The Gentleman, and it had a very slow, methodic tone to it. Remember him?
I love The Gentleman.
Yeah, indeed.
And this is like his take on a war film, which we're not getting, like, obviously, like Oliver Stone or even Doug Liman with The Wall. I think that's what it was called. I really like that one.
Yeah, The Wall.
Awesome. This has got a similar tone to it, though. It really does. But it felt like it was a little bit lacking with the combat and what we've kind of come to expect with war films. But the relationship between him and the interpreter and the other soldiers felt pretty good. It felt pretty inspired and felt realistic, and I bought into all that stuff. So, Guy
Well,
Ritchie's The Covenant.
is this worth tracking down if you're me or anyone?
I think you would like it, actually, Brian. I don't know if it's worth tracking down,
That's really
out there,
insulting.
but no, I think you would like it.
I
I
don't
don't
know if
like the
most
title.
people should see it, but Brian, you'd
Yeah.
love
This is
you'd
a waste of
slop-
time for the general population, but
you'd
Brian,
slip
it's
it
your
up.
kind of movie.
The fact that it's called The Covenant, and then they had to, like, they're like, there's too many movies called The Covenant. It's just gonna get blended. Why don't we call it Guy Ritchie's The Covenant? How about that?
That's always a good sign.
Why not just retitle it? Call it something else.
Guy and Lee Daniels apparently are the two who can get away with that.
But I did like that Dar Salim. Have we seen Dar Salim in other things? He was in Devil's Double. He was one of the guys there. He was, I guess, a fairly 6 role arc in Game of Thrones, and he was in something called Darkland, which I have not seen. But he was very good in this. And it's one of those things where at first you're like, really, seriously, this is where we're going. I'm not buying this. I'm at it all. And then it slowly but surely, actually pretty quickly, I adapted and bought in. Yes.
All right. Good to know. I would like it. Maybe not everyone else would.
You probably like it.
Anderson, you want me to talk Dreamin' Wild?
Yeah, go ahead. Watch your
Dreamin' Wild was a pleasant surprise, a 2023 film directed by David Poland. He, the director of Love and Mercy, and prolific producer. He produced on 12 Years a Slave, Brokeback Mountain. He's been involved with some quality productions. Dreamin' Wild is starring Casey Affleck, Walton Goggins, Chris Messina, Bo Bridges, young Noah Jupe, and Jack Dylan Glazer as young versions of Casey and Walton Goggins. 90% Rotten Tomatoes. This is streaming on Hulu. You can also rent it if you so choose. Do you have that thing, Anderson, where and maybe you're less of this than me, but occasionally I'll come across a good movie and I'll be like, why have I not even heard of this? Like, usually I've heard the movie or I was aware of it in some way. This, I was like, I don't know if this is from this year. I don't know if this is from 10 years ago.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
Dreamin' Wild, what was that for me?
Yeah.
And also, surprisingly, so it's about the real life Emerson brothers. I don't know if you knew who they are. Sadly, I do not. I was embarrassed to learn this is a real story about real people because they have a great story in real life. They were a young musician duo. Like they were a band and they were locally very successful wherever they were in the middle of the country, and they attracted the eye of Hollywood at a very young age. The record industry came calling for them, thinking they'd be like the next big thing. They're given a bite of the apple, and things didn't work out. So that's where we pick up our story with Casey Affleck as the sort of the impresario, right? He's the songwriter, he's the brains on the operation, and he's like basically drops it all, and he's living a very meager life out in the middle of nowhere, living a very modest, meager life. And some recordings from the early days make it to a Hollywood executive today, like, in the movies made. And he comes calling like, you guys are amazing. How come I never heard more from you?
It's
And
like
he's
the movie with you.
What's that?
It's like the movie with you.
Yeah, it really is. He's like, why have I not heard more? This record I heard is fantastic. And Casey Affleck's kind of demurring, like, I don't really do that anymore. And he's like, I would release your album. Like, I specialize in like overlooked talent and like rediscovered talent. And you guys definitely fit that. I think you should make an album. And the movie takes off from there. It's admittedly a slow burn, a quiet movie. It's got a little bit of Perfect Days just in the pacing and the quietness. That said, this is a really sweet movie. Like it's not, you're used to Walton Goggins, for example, playing a certain type of character. That's not who he plays. He's very earnest and he's like, hey, Casey Affleck, yeah, let's get back in the studio. And Casey Affleck's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And maybe I'm thinking like, why did I not hear this? Why did this not make a bigger impact? maybe it lacks the sweeping drama necessary to appeal to a mass audience, right? Like it's not like Walk the Line or Ray, where it's like someone you know who's been through the depths of like drug addiction or whatever it is. It's not that. It's a smaller, quieter story. That said, it's a quality movie, and I enjoyed Dreamin' Wild. It was a nice discovery.
Height.
Yeah.
I'll ever see it. Would I like it?
It's
Nope.
on the fence for now that I built it. Now that I built it up, no. Had you stumbled across it yourself, you'd probably bring it in and be like, "Oh, it's a good movie."
I don't know about that. This does not seem like my kind of movie at all, Brian. I think you know that.
Yeah.
You know me well
I
enough.
also realize there's a lot of song like singing and guitar strumming.
Seems
And I
very
don't know if that's
earnest.
for you.
Seems
It's
very
very
earnest.
earnest. The movie has no guile to it.
It seems like No Country for Old Men. I mean, not No Country.
No,
Like Brokeback Mountain, but without the love story.
no,
That's what it feels like to me.
it's nothing like that.
Pretty
It
sure
seems like
it's exactly.
something that you would assign Anderson, and it would somehow enrage him.
Oh yeah, you'll be watching.
I'd be
this,
enraged because you see what he just did right there. He's like, "Oh no, you would like it if you found it on your own, but because I already put my snake on it, you're not gonna like it." And then he thinks about it for 2 more seconds, and he thinks about me.
Yeah,
Thinks
it's
about
like
who's about me.
like
He's like,
you're gonna watch
"You know
this.
what? Actually, no, you wouldn't like it at all." But he doesn't do that when he assigns me movies. He's just like, "Yeah, you should like this," and then he
Well, the
stops.
good part is I'll have forgotten about this exchange by the time I get around to assigning it to you.
Right, Brian. Number, not number. We're not doing. Oh, sorry. I am ready to talk about a movie that I found, and it's rare these days where I'm just like, it is because of the circumstances where I let you know that I had a couple hours to hang out with the wife before sleepy time. Right, the boy was down. I didn't have shows to do or anything like that, and I'm like, all right, I have a couple hours. We can't just hang and watch indiscriminate TV, or we've been really on a PBS like Lost LA kick lately. Like that's
Oh,
what we're
nice.
watching. Where we're learning all sorts about like history stuff about LA, which is awesome when you've lived here your whole life, but there's just so much like history and knowledge, and it's so expansive. Lost LA on PBS, fucking tight. A little dry, but we love it. Anyways, I'm like, we're not watching Lost LA. I need to watch a movie that I can bring to the program, and it's got to be it was a very narrow field that I had to look for because I didn't want
And your wife hightailed it for the bedroom.
like she watched him when I was watching Lola that you assigned me a couple weeks ago, and she says, "Would you please just?"
That's not a Jillian movie.
She
No, it is
watched
not.
parts of Perfect
Did you
Days.
tell her it was a reality show?
Called it hideously boring. Perfect Days. I mean, she's very particular and hard to appease, and that's why I just watch movies independently of her. But I wanted to spend time with the wife and watch a movie, and I went on a mission and I found one, and boy, was I I don't want to say blown away, but just riveted and angry
You were lit on
affected
fire.
by the fire that took her. So the fire that took her is a 2022 movie, directed by Patricia E. Gillespie, and it is about a woman named Judy. And
Let's leave it at that.
Sounds
movie-
great.
the movie opens with very mundane, dull, static shots of a parking lot, right, in somewhere in Ohio, and it's just like a strip mall by an ATM. And I'm like, this is a terrible start to a movie. And also, I'm on pins and needles because I'm just ready for Jillian to be like, what do we? Why do you pick this? What are we watching? Right? She goes hard on me, and it starts off with just like, what are we watching? It's not even surveillance footage, which will kind of intrigue you, right? It's just like a camera was put on a tripod, and we're looking at a boring wall of a brick building in a parking lot, and you hear this 911 call, and somebody's freaking out saying, "You got to get here, and someone's hurt. You got to." And the dispatchers, it's always such a weird divide too, when the dispatchers all like kind of mildly annoyed with their victims on the phone, but I mean that's their job. She's like, "Can you please slow down?"
What's your address, sir?
And then another boring static shot, and then we get to the surveillance where it's grainy, and you're like, okay, what am I watching here? You're expecting to see some kind of car accident or something. And that's when you see in the distance beyond this brick pillar in this parking lot, you see this fully engulfed human being. It's very small on the screen because, it's in the background, fully upright and taking 3 or 4 steps. And you're just like, and then it cuts, and that's the cold open. And then it cuts.
Oh my.
And you're like, what the fuck and I didn't know what the movie was about. All I knew that it was like fairly well rated. And
fully engulfed in flames, I assume.
Yes, fully engulfed in flames. Sorry. So ultimately, the movie becomes about Judy Malinowski and what happened to her, and it involves domestic abuse to the nth degree, and it's very, very interesting in the sense that I don't want to give anything away about this movie, but things happen in this movie as far as the law goes that have never really been seen before, at least in this part of the country, as far as testimony and um, charges being levied towards one of the parties and laws that are ultimately brought to the forefront and perhaps, written into law because of this case. And there's villains and monsters and a certain defense attorney who you can't believe is just, open to being interviewed and saying the things that he's saying for the, the defendant. This is a very, very disturbing, riveting, heartbreaking movie. Her mom, Judy's mom, is heavily involved in as a talking head in this movie. And
how did Jillian like it?
she really, really liked it. And yeah, I knew that she, 10 minutes in, I'm like, this is fucking good, right? You got to give me some credit here for finding one that's really good. But there are some disturbing images, as you might imagine, of this poor victim, Judy, who is led ablaze in the beginning. Also, some of the, an illustration of how people get hooked on drugs. And, I'm careful. I don't want to give too much away, but so often is the case where somebody is leading a pretty decent life and then some kind of ailment befalls them, whether it's ovarian cancer or a blown knee or something, and they are prescribed opioids to kill the pain, and then that quickly leads to street living, and that is brought up in this movie too.
Oof.
It's a you see, I'm selling it as like super depressing, which
where could one find this? Is
but
it
it's
Netflix?
riveting. It's a riveting, really, really well told documentary and well told story. And if you and your significant other like the old true life crime, is that what they call it?
True crime.
True crime. This one hits the mark. This one hits.
Where is this scene?
Paramount Plus, I believe. Paramount. You can rent it on Prime Video for $2.99. It's called A Fire That Took Her, and tragically overlooked because in some respects, dare I say, this is an important movie in some ways. But maybe it was just too much. Maybe it was too ghastly, too grisly for people and for the distributor to really push. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds like a tough one to recommend.
But here's the thing, like you see the victim and there is a level of desensitization and adjustment where it's horrific at first, but then she just becomes a person who you become accustomed to seeing that way, and you're hearing her very important message and what she's trying to convey to not only the powers that be, but the world ultimately. And it's I was able to adjust it. It's nauseating at first to see this poor woman, but then you see some progress and whatnot. But it's very good. I highly recommend The Fire That Took Her.
Wow. All right, you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's take it away for top 5 Steven Spielberg sex scenes. It sounds weird, but you're gonna get a lot out of
the tail end of that. Jeez.
Yeah, that's a nice segue. Enjoy, you guys, and we'll see you in. Are we wrapping this up, or is gonna let it play out?
Yeah, we'll let it play out.
Nice. We'll see you guys in a few weeks.
Live show, in-person live show. Back at it, coming back strong.
Yeah, big time. Enjoy Spieling.